So originally, most of my career has actually been in pet health insurance. So I was part of the founding team that started a pet insurance company in 2004. And then we sold that business to MetLife. And then I decided I didn't love working for a big business. I don't know if you know Lydia Hinshaw, Patrick's. So I've been chasing her, like everything that she does, I'm like, I'll do it a year after you. So like she sold her business. She's like, I hate this business. I'm going to quit. I'm going to buy. She bought the warehousing business. I bought a flooring business. She sold a piece of the warehousing business. I hope to sell a piece of the flooring business. So I'm just chasing her around, following all her moves.
Well, that's amazing.
But that's how I got plugged in with the entrepreneurial ecosystem.
And it seems like it's pretty, the ecosystem here is starting to like really grow.
I think it's always been kind of dormant, underground, like humming, and now is kind of coming to the surface.
All thanks to people like you.
I hope so.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you. I love to kick these things off just by you telling us.
Should I get rid of my coffee?
No, chug it, drink it, do whatever you want with it.
Okay, perfect. That's my afternoon treat.
Let's go. So just tell us who you are, how you got to where you are today, a little bit of background. You don't have to go all the way back to like birth necessarily, but a little bit about you, just for context for the people listening back home.
Okay, perfect. So my name's Katie Blakely. I'm the president and owner of Flooring Concepts. We're a commercial flooring business based in Sellersburg, Indiana. I did not get my start in construction or even in flooring. Most of my career, as I mentioned, has been in the pet health insurance space. I was part of the founding team of PetFirst Pet Insurance. We got our start in 2004, served in a variety of roles, ultimately the CEO, and then we led that business through a strategic acquisition by MetLife in 2020.
That's amazing.
And then hard pivot into flooring, which is the natural career trajectory of every insurance executive.
So how does one go from that like to pet insurance, which I feel like is probably a newer concept, right? Into flooring?
Yeah, so interestingly, when I realized that I didn't want to stay with the firm that had acquired us, with MetLife, I started thinking a little more purposefully about what I missed about work, why it wasn't as fun for me anymore. I couldn't tell if I was just in a different life stage or if it was a post-COVID thing. But I started to reflect a little bit more on what did I love about working when I loved it most. And it was when it was smaller and a little more challenging. And the days certainly were tougher, but the highs were a little bit higher too.
Yeah.
So with my husband's encouragement, he was like, why don't you find something that you can invest in or buy and manage it through that growth trajectory? So I'm like, people don't buy jobs, you earn jobs. But I'm like, well, maybe we could do that. So we started looking a little more purposefully for businesses that were available to sell, and that's how we found this flooring business, and that was almost a year ago now.
Wow. And how has it been since?
It's been a ton of fun. So I am pleased to report I did recapture what I love about working. I think it's learning new things and remembering that even in your 40s, you can still kind of reinvent yourself and try something new and be a little uncomfortable, and it can still be very rewarding. What
are some of the transferable skills from the pet industry to the flooring?
I think ultimately all business is people and relationships, and I love both of those things. I think I had a hard time articulating what I learned in the pet insurance business that could transfer to another industry, but now that I'm a year into this business, it's just a reminder of I like working with people that like doing good work and care about the outcome, care about taking care of customers, and I think when you have good people, almost anything's possible.
Love it. So we're obviously here to talk a little bit about mentorship. Hosting is on the 29th with Larry, with Patrick, with Joey Wagner, if you know who he is.
Yes.
And what we like to do is bring the best mentors, the best C-level executives from the town, current, former professional athletes, the venture capitalists, and give people an opportunity who maybe don't have access to those folks that are younger in their careers, just getting out of college, still in college, or maybe somewhere in between. Would love to hear a little bit about your background as it pertains to mentors. Did you have mentors along the way when you were at your last company, at this company? Do you still have them?
I think, one thing that I did not put enough time and effort and energy into was pursuing those mentorships. I thought that was something that you did in a big business and they had a structure and you just kind of plugged into that. I thought working for a startup, there's no mentors, there's just work to be done and jobs to be done. Inorganically, I've had a lot of mentors though, and I think it is just going back to what we were talking about, people and relationships and building those connections and realizing that people really do want to share from their experiences, and I want to do that now for other people as well. I foolishly assumed a lot of people won't have time for me, or asking for a favor is going to be a heavy lift, but asking for advice was such an easy thing to do, and so many people are willing to share their thoughts and their feedback. But it's also remembering ultimately you're in charge of your own destiny.
Yeah, totally.
Aggregate that feedback and do what's best for you.
What was some of the best feedback that you received from your organic or inorganic mentors along the way?
That is a great question. I really want to think about that because I think I've received some good feedback along the way.
Best feedback, best advice, anything that you feel like changed your life or impacted you?
I think, I really do pride myself not only on my professional network, but the friendships, the personal friendships that I have. I'm very well connected to a lot of incredibly strong, intelligent, bright women. And I think I have like this core focus group of people that have great advice. And I think it's just a reminder, the best advice that I've received is change it. If you don't like it, change it.
Yeah.
If there's something that's in the way, remove it. If there's something that doesn't serve you anymore, extract it. I think just that nudge that, make a change and you're in charge.
What's the biggest example or biggest moment where you changed something that you didn't want in your career anymore?
I think when I quit my job at MetLife, and I left a company that I had built, and I thought I would ride that into the sunset. And I was so proud of what we built at PetFirst. I thought, even rebranded as MetLife Pet Insurance, this is still so important to me. And it still is, and it's still a part of my story, but I think I let it become too much of my whole identity. So leaving that job was such a great decision for me, leaving really great people and a product and a team that I built. But I think ultimately once I did leave and I kind of let myself sit in that discomfort, the white space of not knowing what the next move was, that was so important and ultimately fulfilling.
How do you know it's time? Like in a situation like that, do you have any advice or any tips you could give to people that maybe are struggling? Like, I don't know if I want to be at this company, be at this place anymore. Is there any like signals or things that were happening that?
I think it was just the sense that something was missing. 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I was having a lot more fun at work, and it was really trying to isolate the variables of what has changed and am I in control of those variables where I can get back to what I used to love so much about working. It's like a 60-hour work week sounds like, just such a pain to some people, but when you're doing something you love, 60 hours sounds incredible. Like, how do I get more of that? So I think it was just paying attention and noticing. I'm kind of a grump. I don't love this as much. I'm not looking forward to days at work the way I used to. I'm not celebrating the wins the way I used to, and knowing you can make a change.
Totally. Would love to hear a little bit about Louisville, what you're doing to mentor folks around here, and just like the greater Louisville. Am I saying that right? Louisville?
Oh, yeah.
Louisville ecosystem.
Yeah, it's like just a big, one word. Interestingly, I'm not originally from Louisville. I grew up in West Virginia. I moved here shortly after I graduated from college. So I'm a transplant, but I married a Louisvillian. My roots.
Louisvillian?
Yes.
That's what they call?
Yes.
Okay.
Native Louisvillian. My roots get deeper and deeper here. I love this community so much. And interestingly, I think a good example is me moving into a new industry in construction and flooring, which I knew nothing about. I was aware that floors exist, didn't know how to sell them.
You stepped on them?
Yeah, exactly. How many people have been so eager to support me in this transition in the flooring business, competitors of mine, to help me understand the learning curve, to make recommendations and introductions, to make sure I'm well connected in the construction space. I think that's just such a great example of what community means in Louisville, and not just in entrepreneurship, not just when it comes to startups, but just business in general. I think Louisville cares a lot about making connections.
Totally. So my favorite question, and I've got just a few more for you. By the way, thank you for letting us drop in on you like this. What would you tell yourself 20 years ago today?
Don't worry so much. I think that I assumed everybody who had it together from day one, and had a plan and executed that plan. And I was a person who did well in school, but wasn't sure what I wanted to major in. After I got out of college, I wasn't clear on what my path was going to be. I thought working for a startup would be a great way to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. It turns out I loved working for a startup, but I was always worried about that next step. And I wish I would have just let myself be in the moment a little bit and have fun.
Totally. What's the biggest challenge or biggest challenge story that you've overcome?
Gosh, the biggest challenge, I would say navigating that plateau in the startup world, where we had incredible growth early on in this pet insurance business, great partnerships, great distribution channels, and we kind of hit that plateau. We really needed another growth catalyst before we were ready to pursue a strategic acquisition, and I waffled a bit during that period, wondering, am I in the right place? Am I doing the right thing? What if we never sell? Is this still a great business? Do I still want to be a part of it? So I think that was a tough mental exercise for me. I'm glad I stayed the course. I loved building that business and ultimately transitioning that business to MetLife, but I almost didn't make it that far.
Sure. Tell me about on the other side of the spectrum, most rewarding moment, or if you had I made it moment. What did that look like?
It really did feel like when we transitioned the business to MetLife, even though that was imperfect in a lot of ways in hindsight, we started the business with the intention of selling it and selling to a powerhouse like MetLife that we knew would take excellent care of this business that we had built up. And they have. It's grown, by a huge factor over the last couple of years since MetLife took over. I still wouldn't have ever picked a better home for our business, our baby that we grew up.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah,
are you going to be with us on the 29th? Are you around?
I hope so, yes.
Yeah, great.
So I've got to work it out. We have kids now. Things are a little more complicated.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. I don't have kids, so I can't relate, but I really appreciate your time.
Of course. No, and I'm glad you finally were like, let me look for all the ladies who are sitting here by themselves. One of these is surely Katie.
100%.
Very nice to meet you. Thank you.